There's days that are a struggle and it's effort, and sometimes you get crap on your hands.
All right, welcome to the 5th episode of Two Caring Gents. Nick, great to see you, man. Here we are again.
Always good to see you and happy to be here and, be with our listeners.
Pretty incredible watching the episodes that we released today. What a blessing just to be able to keep doing this, man.
I know, awesome. And the feedback's been awesome. I like to see it. I want it to continue. We'll keep it going.
Yeah, and I think that feeds right into the episode today. Something that's near and dear to both of us, but the how and why of optimism.
Yeah.
So one thing that is very near and dear to me, I know it's been very near and dear to you through everything, and I'm really just grateful we get the time to talk about it today. And I'm going to have you lean in on how your day went today and to stay optimistic through what a day can bring.
It's to our production manager as he's just outside my car, as I'm trying to figure out where to do with all this bird poop. The day would start, my first words to Robert was, man, the world is testing me and is really making it a struggle to keep my optimism today. I mean, just from traffic, construction zones, parking situations, rain, I mean, you name it. Going into the wrong parking garage and it's permit only. Finding out, I can't back out and being stuck there for a second. And even if I wanted to get out of my car and ask for help, I couldn't because my doors don't open right there. Not enough room to get out of my car. So feeling very trapped in the world, right? And, getting from one parking garage to another, especially on rainy days, but then, your tires are wet. And you think, oh, that's just water on my hands.
Which tires?
My wheelchair tires. Thinking the worst thing for a person in a wheelchair is to have dirty hands. Our hands are always dirty. We wash them all the time. But when you feel that something is mud and it's not mud, and it was bird poop and it was fresh, and you depend on your hands. Your hands touch everything. They're your feet.
Yeah.
And normally I would just stand up and get in my car and not touch anything or walk back to a bathroom. But I could not even open a door, which was probably 7 doors, to get to the nearest bathroom. So I'm not going to do that to anybody. So I have to figure this out. Luckily, I had an ounce of hand sanitizer in my bag. Got my hands somewhat clean. Once I got to the studio, though, Robert saw me go right to the bathroom and disinfect myself. And then, you're like, wow, the optimism, it's a struggle today. But then come up to the studio and there's hand sanitizing wipes. So I was able to clean my tires. I was able to clean my hand rims. I was able to clean my hands, everything. So,
Love it, man. That's so funny. As I walked into the studio, that's the first thing that you leaned in on. You're like, how are you doing today? It's like, I'm great. Busy day, but doing well. How are you doing? Optimism is really challenging me today as we're leaning into doing this show. Yeah. So thanks for telling the story, brother.
Yeah, no problem.
That is, it just sounded like one thing after another just kept stacking up against you today. But thanks.
And I know all my fellow wheelchair users can relate, or anyone that knows anyone in a wheelchair can relate that there's days that are a struggle and it's effort, and sometimes you get crap on your hands. You got to figure it out.
It's a T-shirt right there. That is a T-shirt right there. Two caring gents. Sometimes you get crap on your hands. Stay up. Yeah, stay up. So I hope everybody can relate to things we go through in daily life and why it's so important to just focus on what really matters. We touched on that in a lot of our intro episodes, but just staying real to the fact that how good we ultimately have it, and just being healthy, having our families, having our friends around us. We're going to get into that. This is something that has really driven me through my profession and in my personal life. And I want to say thank you to you for being open to having this show at this point in our journey.
Mutual feelings there.
I think the world needs as much optimism as we can get right now. and maybe always, maybe it's just more apparent, but we've talked about it and I've read about it that, suicide's related to depression, mental illness, loneliness. So we've talked a lot about, what potentially social media and our ability to get, I was thinking about this the other day, that you don't even need to leave home to get food anymore.
No, if you find yourself in that dark space, the world is set up around us now. We can stay there.
Yeah.
You can stay in that dark place and you can have everything brought to you. You don't have to leave your house. You can stay with the curtains closed, everything dark, and stay in your cave. And in that dark place, the world is built around that. You can sustain it, and that's a scary thing.
When you study us as humans in the biology, right, of humans, so oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, all of those things are heightened, and those are the good ones, right? Those get heightened when we're around each other, around human beings. Mm-hmm. And what we know is work, especially isolatory work, which how many people work from home so they don't have that team room to go to talk to somebody, or they're not providing a service where they're in front of their patient or they're in front of a client, hairdresser, bartender, the trades, right? The trades get done with the job. They can turn around, look what I did. Yeah. Customer can say, great job. I think there's a lot of us in our occupations these days that we're sitting behind a computer at home, knocking things out left and right. When is anyone ever saying, hey, great job?
Right.
And really getting people to try to engage again. And in one of our next episodes, we talk about the power of having people that you can trust. Confidants is the way that you, as we were writing that episode.
Yeah.
But, probably the most common thing that I get asked about my just being and who I am is, why are you so optimistic? And I'm going to go ahead and dig in on that.
Because that's a big question that I hear a lot of people ask of you, or when we're in social gatherings, people are just curious. How is Chris such a happy guy? And one thing I do hear about you most, the one trait, is people that know you. They go, Chris truly cares. Mm. It's not a lot of people that they put the effort, they're in society, and it's just task oriented.
Right.
But you're task oriented, but you also truly care about every individual you come in contact with. I've seen you in public with complete strangers, and how you break down their walls and how you try to understand their day or what they're going through, and just you're not being nosy. You're just like, I'm just going to try to brighten your day because I can.
Yeah.
I have that ability.
I appreciate you, man. And I wasn't always like this. And that's what the first point that I wanted to get across today is that I give my relationship to God, especially the last 10 years of my life, Nick, to that just ultimate foundation of gratitude. A lot of people talk about John 3:16. My favorite verse is Romans 5:8, because that verse states that even while we were sinners, God gave up his only son to save us. Yeah. So and I gotta be very careful, we're not a religious show, we're not a political show, we're not, right?
No, but this is a part of you.
That I appreciate that anybody that comes on, I want to evoke that be real about what works for you. Mm-hmm. And we always talk about, if there's one thing, just one thing that one person gets from us putting this effort into this show, we've fulfilled our mission. Yeah. And so that's what I'm going to be very careful about. This works for me, and and I want to hear what works for you, right? But if God could give up a human that he created that was walking the earth and was the perfect human and could give up his son because he loved us so much. And he had the ultimate power to not let that happen. He could have stopped the Romans and Pilate, and he could have stopped it.
Yeah.
But to make the ultimate point of, I'm going to give up my son to save you all, yeah, and all of the just wrong that you're doing. 10 years ago, I was at church after not going to church. I was raised traditionally, and what most people was confirmed, all the things. Mm-hmm. Pretty traditional background. But I'm in church, and there's a song that is being played, and it's, Nick, what a lot of people talk about. I was overwhelmed emotionally, can't explain it, and I just started to cry on site. Like, Jacqueline's next to me. We would have had 2 of our girls at that point, and it was so beautiful and inexplicable. Like, I still can't explain why necessarily, that I just broke down. And then a week after that, Romans 5:8 was part of that message. And that's where my road with optimism started at. And again, that is my basis. Yeah. But I wanted to make sure, as I'm working through why I am who I am, that I think all of us have to find that thing to understand the greater mechanism, and that there's something bigger than you and me.
Absolutely. We'll never find those answers, right? Someday, hopefully, we do. That we understand behind our purpose, behind our efforts. There's something that calls for us to do what we do, and to put that effort forth. Where I put my energy every day it's not by chance. It's where I feel it's needed. We have a choice every day when we wake up how we're going to approach that day. And we wake up every day re-energized. We're like a battery. Throughout that day, that battery, the tick marks come down. So where at your optimal time are you going to put your energy through the day? And hopefully at the end of your day, as you're reflecting, you can say, that was a good use of energy. Now it's time to recharge and face it again tomorrow.
So that goes back to what you stated when we're at events together, raising money, right, for someone in need, that it's become natural at this point that that's what I do. It just feels common. It feels fine, right? It just feels normal for me to do that. But I wanted to make sure that I called out that that's where my basis is at. Again, everybody needs to find their foundational thing. I would say I believe in some higher power, right? That what has been created and what we get to experience every day, I think once you have that foundational piece, you have the ability to introspect that the things happening around me are not as big as that other thing. And so, we talk about it a lot at my church, Nick, that our pastor, obviously, there's been a lot of stresses and a lot of strains on this earth for a long time. The elections, the last 2 times, people lost their mind. And when you realize that things are going to be okay.
Yeah, my one thing I always say to patients that I meet with, that I mentor, or if I'm speaking to a group that has some type of influence to improve patient's livelihood or their care or something. Have that impact. The one thing I like to drive home is that none of us are immune to everything around us. Right? It's like viruses floating in the air. You might catch it, you might not. You hope you don't. But you can't control the world around you, but what you can control is how you face it. The start of your day, right? How much are you going to let that take your energy? Is that where you're going to drain your battery? Right? Like, there's been moments in your life, my life, many people's lives where you're a broken battery. You're unrechargeable. We've all been in those moments where you go to sleep and you think, I'm ready to be recharged. That's my moment. I'm going to recharge. I'm going to be set for the next day, but you're not. You're still in red. Bottom bar. 1%. You don't know why, right? You don't. But you take that 1%, and like my wife likes to do when she's like, I'm like, hey, you got 1%. She's like, that's plenty. You know, I really took that to heart. Like, 1% is plenty. It's better than 0%. And build up that. And that battery, you hope, begins to start to recharge, right? But it's building off chance.
I love that analogy. And I think once you have that basis, whatever that is as a person, you know that I'm at 1% right now, but I'm going to meditate, I'm going to pray, I'm going to call that friend, which is what we're getting to next, is those people that can get your 1% back to full. But I do think at some point we as individuals have to find the strength and that base that I know I'm going to get back from 1%. I've done it before. I'm going to get back to where I need to be at. I might need help. I might need to call Nick. I might need to call Nick and say, today sucked, right? Or I need to talk to Jacqueline, and today sucked, but I know that I'm going to get through this thing. And I'm so proud of our church leadership, Nick, that between Pastor Bell and Pastor Batten, Aaron Bressman, they always state, it doesn't have to be our house, but find a church. Find a church. And not only the basis, but how many times have you ever heard of a fight at church? How many times have you ever heard or seen two people at church pointing fingers, poking them in the chest about politics, the parking spot outside? It doesn't happen.
It's honestly one of this one few spaces in the world where you can be vulnerable and reflect. That's where many times when I'm in a pew, I'll send you a picture later and you'll get it, that I had all three kids and my wife took the picture, but my eyes are closed. I look like I'm sleeping, but I was reflecting. I had Julia in one arm. I had a bottle in one of the twins' mouths. They were in a dual stroller next to me. We were stuffed in a corner. And we're in the family room where it's loud, it's crazy. But I was reflecting. And still, I look at that picture. That's one of the pictures I go to. That you could be, it's always noisy around us. But those spaces are the spaces of peace, where you can really gather your thoughts, gather your energy. It's like the one spot where you can recharge, right? It's having those places where we all have different places where there are church, right? I think church can be used in many ways, right? We all have our place that some might be just a quiet coffee house. Where they can just be at peace and think. But that's those places where it allows you to feel that energy to come back. And the people. I grew up in South Omaha, right? You live not far from where I grew up. The energy, the camaraderie. Man, I mean, I could talk for hours on my childhood in South Omaha.
Yeah.
And the families that we're still close. I have 4 friends. We're still extremely close and in contact. 2 of us, we have our kids that are 2 weeks apart.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's the community. I mean, you go in South Omaha, you can't go 2 blocks without getting into a church, right? That's how we were raised.
Yeah.
But it was the sense of community, those around you, your neighbors.
Yeah.
And you never feel alone in those spaces.
And you nailed it, Nick. Like, that is something I look forward to every single week. It's Wednesday, and, you know, I'm having a bad day, and I know that church is coming up on Sunday. You know, the beauty of it is now, too, is with streaming, if you're sick or you don't have the ability to go, you can watch it live.
Yeah.
Most churches, a lot of churches now, right? But you just nailed it. That I think also having whatever that place is to find your optimism, to find your hope, you know, even the drive home sometimes, I just want to go back to church. Yeah. I struggle with that. I think a lot of people would be shocked by that, but just the drive home, at times I'm like, oh my, I just want to go back to church where I'm learning, I'm getting better, and I'm in a space where it's just goodness. It's just goodness. So, yeah, I wanted to drop that. The last thing I wanted to make sure I said was thank you to my, there's 3 older brothers. I wanted to say thanks to my middle brother. He kept just bringing me back to the Word. In those years that in between high school and 2016, so almost 20 years, that if I went to church, it was a holiday. It was, you know, checking the box, you know, church days. And he kept, my brother Brad, I didn't say his name, my brother Brad. And he kept, you know, bringing it back. And again, I think that's one of those things as we talk about friends or those people. If you've got somebody that's nudging you and there's a reason, there's a really good reason they're nudging you. And I nudge people all the time. I nudge you.
Yeah, you did.
I nudge you. Well, I continue to.
Yeah.
Right? That we have goals together now with Robert. We have goals together now, and I nudge you. Yeah. And when I nudge you, you don't take it as, hey. Yeah. You know it's that I want more from you because I know what you're capable of, and you do the same thing to me. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
God, when you get to a place where you have people around you that are pushing you and that optimism that I carry, then people know pretty quickly something's up. And then because I've created that normalism around my behavior, quickly the people that love me the most, they're bringing me back so I can be my best version, I can provide value.
Yeah.
So anyways, I just, as we're getting into optimism, I think one, find people around you that bring that out, and then secondarily find spaces. Yes. And I love that you said that coffee shop. You have your coffee shop. Yeah, I've been to your coffee shop.
Yeah. Right here.
And you're happy. And like you're happy with the kids there, and you're comfortable there. But you got to get out. Yeah. People have got to get out.
Because when I couldn't get out so freely, right?
Yeah.
It was the perfect storm, and we all run into it, where it's the unthinkable. Mm. And you're really, when my thought is when your phone, you're not getting nudged by friends, or the phone is quiet, and you're not hearing from the outside world, that's not the right spot to be. You're in trouble. If you don't have that, and I always make sure people I don't hear from in a while that are important to me, that I truly care about, because life, it gets busy, right? We all get busy. I always make sure to reach back out to them at some point and just ask, hey, how are things?
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
Takes 2 seconds, right?
Yep.
Not even.
Yep.
It's just, how's everything?
Yeah.
Everything good?
You've got to be right, though, to do that. Yeah. You have to be right.
You can't do that and not be right.
Man, I lost track of you. I lost track of you for years, Nick.
Dude, I went stealth mode. I was And it was by design. I did it on purpose because I knew what I was doing. One was very sad and was so chaotic. I didn't want that on anybody.
Yeah.
Almost like it was contagious, even though it wasn't. But I didn't. The interaction, anyone to interact with me, all I saw was sadness and worry and fear. So I couldn't add any more to that tally. I didn't want that.
Yeah.
It was tearing me apart.
And that rolls pretty smoothly to where there's one person that brought you out of that, and it was Rach.
Oh man.
We talked about
Yeah. Yeah.
She pulled you out. Like she had the guts. Not all wives and husbands do. No. Not all parents do. She had the guts to look you in the eyes and say, you're not the same guy.
Yeah.
Jacqueline, at some of my worst moments, she's like, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
And, tough love. Yeah. Tough love.
Can you imagine the confidence it takes to say that to someone you love?
Yeah.
Like, I struggle to ever have to say that to her.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I would run hypotheticals in my head. Like, what would it take for me to have to say that to her?
Yeah.
Would I be able to be confident enough to say that to her? Or would I just take the easy route and say, I'm out?
Yeah.
And not even give her a chance.
Yeah.
I don't know because I've never been put in that situation. But I would hope that I would have the strength and bravery that she did to do what she did and say, hey, I don't see you smile anymore. I don't even recognize you.
Yeah.
You aren't the Nick I know.
Yeah.
You're not Nick anymore.
Yep.
You're not happy. And that took a lot.
Brother, I'm gonna again lean in on something that our lead pastor, Pastor Bell, says all the time, because he counsels couples a lot. And, and obviously in confidence, doesn't say names, but he shares with us that most of the time he's a facilitator for the two to just talk and have the difficult conversation. And I'm not saying that we don't at times need that, but if you have your optimism and you have your base down, you can help other people. And that gives me more juice every day, Nick. One person reaching out to me and saying, my kid just did this. Thanks for that talk. My business just did this. Thanks for the effort you gave me in the last year. I'm done, man. I'm good. Like at that point, my battery is full. And I haven't even touched the impact on my family. These are outside places. But I think at times people, why would anyone want to listen to me? Why would anyone want to take advice from me? Get yourself right. Get yourself to a place where you know you're special, you know you're capable of a lot, and you will start to naturally be optimistic. You will naturally start to look at other people and want to help them out. And I am not perfect today. Yeah. You and I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
I do dumb stuff, but I have the basis. I have the basis to hold myself accountable to that and know that when I did something, I'm not okay with it, and to check that. So
exactly. That beacon. I have that beacon. When I know I gone too far out to see. Thank you for tuning in to Two Caring Gents. I hope what was discussed resonates with you or someone you know. Please, if there's someone in your life that, what we discuss you think needs to hear, please share. Please like and subscribe. That helps us as this channel grows to really move everything forward. So thank you for your time listening in, and we look forward to sharing more with you next week. Thank you, and have a wonderful week.